Hi, welcome back. This is part 5 of my video on Independence Day and the Declaration of Citizen Grievances and the Declaration of Independence, Women's Independence series and list. So it's unacceptable. It's not okay. That's the main thing. It's not okay that our representatives are not listening to us. And it's not okay that they keep spending without thinking. And it's not okay that they're not thinking about their most valuable player, which is mothers. So I just wanted to get that in there, that we need to talk about these things, and it's not acceptable what's going on. So there's a third element to the people who are in power and not giving power away. So I mean the Democrats and the Republicans, because they're the ones in power and they keep passing it back and forth between them. It looks like we have a choice, but we don't. And there's a third element to all of this, and it's the Zionism. This is something that started way back last century, and I'm even going to say it goes back even further. And maybe I make this one about this topic. So, yeah, I will. Okay, so the Zionist movement is about 150 years old now. And it was started by a Polish guy, I think, and then also a German. And then what I discovered, it started in Switzerland, near Basel, actually, near where I used to run my Unitarian Universalist fellowship when I was living there. And I participated also. I wasn't always the leader, but I'm also a participant, which I still am to this day. So I did some research. And it's the Doctrine of Discovery that is sort of behind all of this. So although we're a lot of the evangelicals are no longer Catholic, which the Doctrine of Discovery came from the Catholic background, and it's I want to say it's 1452, somewhere around there, was when it was declared. And then, as we know, 1492 is when Columbus discovered for Spain and Portugal and Italy. He discovered that there was a continent called America, or at least a continent, the New World. So there are a whole bunch of things that were going on in the 1400s that we're still feeling the repercussions from, and beyond that we're still feeling the repercussions from. So the 1300s was the early Renaissance, and then the 1400s were the Doctrine of Discovery, where in the name of God, Christians were supposed to take whatever land wasn't already in Christian hands, or hands for Jesus, whatever. And any infidels and pagans, they were supposed to, any non-Christians, they were supposed to turn to slaves. So that was the whole concept. Apparently Rome now condemns this, and it's only a recent condemning, but it's condemned. Yeah. So then in 1492 we had Columbus. In 1455, that's when the first Gutenberg Bible was created, and the common man didn't have to go through the monks and the priests and everybody else to get the information. The Holy Roman Empire was going on, and the home base was Germany. Protestant Reformation started shortly after the Gutenberg Bible in 1517 with Martin Luther. And I think it's Gutenberg. Yeah. Then apparently, so the Protestant Reformation started in 1517, and the fall of Rome happened in 1527. So Rome was still in existence until 1527. And what happened was Martin Luther, he had his, 90-something grievances that he put up in Germany on the church wall. And apparently the church was abusing the people and selling indulgences, selling forgiveness. And so the rich people could be forgiven for crimes and things that they were doing. They just had to pay some money, and then they wouldn't have to do all the other things that people who didn't have money had to do. And they could be forgiven, and then they would go to heaven. So indulgences were being sold by the church. And that's why Martin Luther broke away and started the Reformation and continued. So the Protestant Reformation with Martin Luther started in 1517. The English Reformation started in 1532, so a couple of years later. And then just to let you know, the Mayflower, so England wasn't in the New World. The New World was discovered in 1492, so 1500s. And then England didn't get involved until 1620. That's when the Mayflower made its way over here. So Spain and Portugal were already in the New World, already doing all the destruction that they did, and stealing of land and all the things that they did to the native people, just to let you know. And then the Spanish Inquisition, where they killed witches, and it happened a lot in Europe, especially in Germany. There's a case where there were in a town of 900, 200 of the women were killed over a period of time, but still, that happened in Germany in 1625, something like that, which is when the Mayflower was coming over. So the Spanish Inquisition was from 1478, so 1492. So Spanish Inquisition was going on when Columbus was discovering the New World. And then in 1834 is sort of when it stopped, the Spanish Inquisition. So the Spanish were killing women and killing non-Christians, people that they thought were witches, and witch trials and whatnot during that period of time. So just imagine that sort of a person going to a new world. Imagine what they did there. Europe and European Christians have been wreaking havoc on our planet for a long time. And it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. So today we call them Zionists. Still the same group of people, the Germans, the Spanish, the extremists. And they're trying to bring the end of times. That's what we're seeing in Israel. That's why they demand that we keep Israel as a friend, even though they do horrific things there. And this is just not acceptable. It's not okay. And it's certainly not okay from a country that is supposed to be neutral. We're supposed to have separation of church and state. It says it in our Constitution. So the fact that we seem to have Zionists running our country, and they're Zionists in both the Democrats and the Republicans, and they're working towards bringing the end of times, the final wars and everything. And sadly, they seem to be winning. So I guess I'm going to continue here quickly, because it's unacceptable what's gone on in the name of Jesus. And Jesus would not approve. Not that I believe that Jesus was ever in existence, or at least who he claims to be, or who Christians claim he is. But truthfully, folks, if you're an adult human being, you should be able to live life in modern times, especially in the U.S., without the need of an imaginary friend. And that's what this is. God and Jesus are imaginary. They don't exist. They're imaginary. And imagine, would you trust the guy on the street talking to himself to hold any kind of position of power? I'm going to say no. And as an atheist, which is what I am, I have both my feet on the ground and my head exactly where it is, not in the skies or in the clouds. I see things pretty clearly. And I don't want somebody who's on the street talking to themselves in any position of power. But sadly, this is what we have. And we have people believing massive fairy tales about who Jesus is and the devil and God. And I mean, it's just crazy. And then they do these things in the name of God, thinking it's the right thing to do, to steal land and property and kill people, witches. I mean, pay so that you can get to heaven? I don't know. This is your history. Then we have people in Italy at a basilica in Florence, where in their museum you can see the childhood bones of John the Baptist. Because, of course, as he grew, he left his bones from childhood behind and took on adult bones. Yes, that's in Italy. So, I think we need to think about how much of history we really should believe, and especially how much of these religious texts we should believe. Now, I know some people are using the Bible in a way where they're learning from the lesson that's told. And that's one thing. But then you realize it's a fictional story. But when you start believing that it's a real story, and if you start believing that Jesus is real and that God is real, that's where we run into trouble. Because those are imaginary people, imaginary beings. They don't exist. And as an adult human, you need to seek help. Because if you can't live life without your imaginary friend, then you are a danger to yourself and the people around you. If you're over 18, you should not need an imaginary friend to live life, especially in the USA in modern times. It's not necessary. So, yeah. But this is where we are. We have these people in office. They're forcing their religion upon the rest of us, and it's unacceptable. We have freedom of religion, and that means freedom to believe whatever we want to believe. I mean, if you want to believe that there's a Jesus and a God, you're free to believe that. But you have no right to force it upon me or upon anyone else. So, I'm going to stop here. I think I said, what, part 5? Yep, so then part 6 is coming up. So this is where a lot of our problems lie, in this doctrine of discovery and the fact that we got people in power who think that they have their power from God and they can do what they want. And this is a danger, not only to ourselves, but to the rest of the world too. Okay. Susan Buchser-Lochocki, message approved.